Hi, welcome to Dr. Pat TV. This is the second video on simple interest. On the previous video, we looked at the formulas and those kind of things, and now we're going to start applying them. Our first example for applications will be on corporate bonds. This is a way for companies to borrow money. Instead of going to banks and other lending institutions, a company can borrow money from the general public, and the bond is the agreement about how they're borrowing the money and they're going to pay it back. Okay, but before we get into this, I got to do a little pop quiz here that I have, just to kind of set the stage for some things and just kind of get the right perspective. Okay, so at Starli's, the retail price is 25% more than the wholesale cost of the coffee mugs. That basically means that the supplier is charging Starli's a certain amount, and then Starli's is going to raise that 25% to figure out their retail price. So that's how that's working. Now, suppose the price of the coffee mug doesn't sell well. So the coffee mug doesn't sell, and the retail price is marked down 25%. So they have them on the shelf, not going very well, marked down, sell 25%. So what do we know about the sale price as compared to the wholesale cost? So we got a new sale price. What is that going to be? Is it going to be larger, the same, or lower than the wholesale cost? So basically at the end, by marking it up 25% and then decreasing 25%, what happens? Do they come to the same amount? That's a common mistake that I see quite a bit. Just want you to know that it actually turns out to be 93.75% of the wholesale cost. What's happening here is that here's the nice little calculation that I have. X is basically the wholesale cost. We're going to raise it 25% and then decrease it 25%. And this is the mathematical calculation we would do to figure out what percentage of the wholesale cost. What's going on here is that I start with the wholesale cost, my X, the thing I don't know, and I'm going to raise it 25%. Well, if you raise it 25%, I'm adding 25% on the wholesale cost, 100% of that wholesale cost. So that price is 100% of the wholesale cost and 25% more. And a shortcut version of that is 1 plus 0.25, the decimal version of 100% and 25%. But now when I do a markdown, it's 25% less from the 100%. So 100% of the retail price minus 25% of that, and that's where I'm seeing this 1 minus 0.25. So this part right here illustrates to me how I do the markdown on the retail price, and this part right here illustrates how I do the markup. And so when you do these calculations, you're going to end up getting 0.9375. So that's the idea. The key thing I want to bring your attention to is that we're modifying percentages and things like this. And when you do markups and markdowns kind of things, just remember, percentages are all about what it's applied to. And when you get this weird combination that 25% up and 25% down is not getting back to the same spots. So I just wanted you to get that weird frame of mind because it's coming up. All right, so let's get to our corporate bonds. I've got a $5,000 corporate bond here. It's a 10-year bond, so basically what's going to happen is that in 10 years, they're going to pay back me the $5,000. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. In 10 years, they pay me back the $5,000. But also, in the meantime, every 6 months, they're going to pay me 4.3%, a rate of 4.3%. And again, in business, now remember, in the real world, that 4.3% is represented as an annual rate. It's per year. So I want to get paid every 6 months, but the rate that's been given to me is 4.3. So we're basically got to do some modification there. Okay, so just got to be careful about that. So now, if he buys the $5,000 bond, how much will he receive every 6 months? Okay, so what we're looking to do is find the interest payment. And so interest, you may recall from the last video on the formula there, interest is the P times R times T. P is the principal, is the present value. R is the rate, and it's an annual rate usually. And T is the time, and basically that T and R need to be in the same time frame. So we've got 4.3%, so R is 0.043 for us. P is 5,000. That's how much the calculation, the interest rate is based upon that 5,000. And then time, we're going to get payments of every 6 months, but T needs to be in the same time frame as the rate, and it's assumed to be an annual rate. So that's why we're going to use 6/12, or basically 1/2 of a year. And so then plugging those numbers into our formula, this is what we get. We get 107.50. So basically, every 6 months, I'm going to receive a payment of $107.50. So that's my interest. And then at the end of the 10 years, I'm going to get $5,000. And so that's what we're looking at. Now, let's say Josh gets stuck. He needs some money. So he's been holding this bond for 6 years, collecting that interest, waiting to get his $5,000 back. But, oh man, he's really into Ariana Grande and really wants these collector items and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff she's selling. And so he needs the money now. He's seriously strapped for the cash. So he's got this bond. He can't do anything with it. So what's he want to do? He wants to sell it. And his friend Julia, well, she's willing to help him out, but she wants 2% off the face value. Face value, that's that $5,000, the value of the bond. And so basically, she's going to do that. She's going to ask him, hey, it's great, I'll take it from you, but I'm not going to give you a full $5,000. She wants 2% off. So how much does she pay? Well, nice straightforward 2% off. So basically what we're doing here is taking our $5,000 minus the discount that she's looking at, minus the amount that she doesn't want to pay, and so that turns out to be $4,900. So for that 2% discount that she wants, she's only going to pay $4,900. And so, hey, Josh, he's going to lose the $100, but hey, he really wants those Ariana Grande items, so he's going to pay for it. Now, the catch here is that Julia, from this point on, will be receiving the $107.50 payments. So whoever is the one who holds the bond is the one who receives those interest payments. And then one last question here is what we want to look at is the rate of return. So basically, Julia now has paid. She didn't pay $5,000 for this bond. She's paid only $4,900. But she's receiving $107.50. You may remember, $170.50 was calculated based upon a $5,000 and a different interest rate. And so now we want to figure out, hey, what would be the interest rate that it would be if we received $107.50 but only invested $4,900. And so that's what we're going to do. We've got an interest payment I, we've got a new principal of only $4,900 because that's how much Julie invested. We still receive the payments of $107.50 every 6 months, so the time frame's still the same. The question is what is her return rate? What is the investment? How good of an investment did Julie have? And so then basically let's divide both sides by 4,900. Let's well, this turns out to be 1/2. 6 over 12 is 1/2. So to bring that 1/2 over, we would multiply by 2. So when we do that calculation, we end up with 4.39%. And remember, originally that bond was at 4.3. So because she invested a smaller amount, getting the same return, her rate goes up. And that's one of those relationships you want to get into business about, is those percentage rates, how you compare those with the return and what you get. So how much you invested compared to what you're getting back in interest. I hope this made sense. I'll talk to you later. We've got our next video on T-bills.